Hey YouTube, how you doing? Um, my name's John Borgese. I'm an Ericksonian hypnotist, and I'm also a NLP New Code coach. I've started this live stream tonight to demonstrate the power of using ambiguous hypnotic language in order for the mind to create new connections. And I'm going to be going through some of those patterns tonight. Let's see if we've got anyone here yet. I believe not. Let's open this up. No, there's no one here as yet. Okay. So, a lot of politicians use ambiguous language when they're trying to evade a question. In hypnosis, we use it to help the client build connections within themselves in order to overcome, an issue or a current challenge that they're facing. And ambiguous language is vague. That's to put it simply, and it uses a lot of words that the client would use. So if you're having a conversation and the client would say, I love the energy that I feel when I enjoy this certain experience. So later on, energy might mean the reason it's ambiguous is because energy might mean something completely different to you. If you were to specify it, which is using the other side of NLP, the meta model, you drill down into specifics, that would be the client then explaining to you exactly what they mean by that. So they might say, I feel really light and, I'm excited and I feel positive. And even further, and this is now where you come into, this is digressing, but I love the digression anyway. This is going into drilling down into their values. So you could say, what's important about you feeling positive, or what do you like about feeling light? And that goes further down the path. But if you use a few words that a client really resonates with, then that helps them to relate to what you're doing for them better, how you're trying to help them. So that's why we'd use loads of really non-specific language. And it helps where it helps, that light's in the way. It's weird. It's like there's a fucking ghost here. And it's what I like about it is that you could speak to two different people simultaneously and facilitate. I'm going into it now. I'm going into ambiguous language now, and facilitate the creation of two very different experiences within those people that means something very specific to them, but to you it could be completely different. And I think that's the beauty of it, because in using this sort of language, out of the political sphere, out of the, manipulation sphere of things, I think it's a very powerful way of speaking to people. Because yes, if you want to get specific about things, then you'd use the meta model and you can drill right down, to the core elements of what a particular word may mean to someone. But if you're just helping them to create something better for themselves, then in all honesty, it doesn't really matter what that word means to you, or me for that matter. What matters is what effects that language has for the client. And I think that's a very important thing, because that means that there's a cause and effect, something means something else, something leads to something else. I'm not sure if that's cause and effect. I I never know I don't even know what patterns I'm using half the time. I just use them, you know, but it that's what it means for the client. So it's a very elegant, it's artful. And at the end of the day, hypnosis is a very creative process to be engaging in. And it's not, there's the misconception, okay? And it's take this off. There's a misconception. I'll put that back on because it felt nice on my ear. There is a misconception that hypnosis is something that happens to the other person. And I I find it a little bit amusing now, because to be able to affect the kind of change that we as hypnotists, as Ericksonian hypnotists anyway, can affect, and the sort of change work we can do, we have to be in a trance as well. So, and it's always with good intentions in mind. We always have good intention for our clients, to create the change they want. So it's interesting how you can use all this language, and it's so powerful when it's put to this sort of use. So I've done enough waffling for the time being. It's still, the chat's still empty in here. So I'm just basically talking to myself, but I might as well have fun doing it. So I'm just going to run through some basic patterns. Chat empty. I'm like, hey, talking to myself, man, yay. I'm going to run through some basic patterns just for fun. And this video is going to be available afterwards anyway. So anybody who wants to watch it, hope you enjoy this, because I am. All right. So I'm not sure what patterns I'm going to come out with, but I'll start with some basic. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. As you may see things, as you're looking at me and you're hearing my voice, your body, you can feel it's in a certain position. And with all this happening, you could wonder what I'm going to say next. And as with this time passes, with each word, your mind is constantly building new connections within itself, reaching out to the other worlds of imagination you can conjure inside. And floating through this awareness is a world of interwebbed thoughts. And as you continue to listen, you may be aware of the increasing number of connections your thoughts could make. And isn't it amazing when you think of your mind this way? Fluid thinking, like water, gently trickling down a mountainside. That's right. And I know of a very, very large mountain, very, very steep. And as you think about this mountain, you could imagine You are a climber, born to rise, to reach the heights. And you look far off into the distance and you see this mountain and the sun in the sky rising. And you could think to yourself, my, this is the day to climb. And as you become more excited about this challenge, you could reach down and tighten up your shoelaces of the boots you're wearing. And sure enough, foot and step, one after the other, you set off on your journey. And as you walk, the mountain gets taller and taller. And you begin to think, oh wow, that's going to be a challenge. But as you look to your right, you've got a friend with you. And they want to climb with you. That's right. And you both look at the mountain. And you both think, what a fun day this is going to be. And you reach base camp. And you look up high. The peak is in the clouds. You can't even see it yet. And you keep watching. And suddenly the sky is clear. And you can see the peak reaching far into the blue abyss of the sky. And it's day one. And you begin with your companion to climb up. And to start off, the terrain is moderate. It's kind of easy, not too challenging. You trek all day and you're tired, but you have a lot of fun. And you reach the next camp and you sleep there. And then the next morning, you get up and another day of trekking. And this time it gets steeper. It gets a lot harder. And you and your companion, you still work together to get to that peak, to get to that peak. And then you continue your journey. And there are challenges along the way. But you carry on. You trek all day. And you're exhausted. And you get to the camp and you just collapse into the tent and sleep all night. And then you get up the next morning for a very special journey to the summit. And you've done thousands of meters so far. and your feet are all blistered, you've got bruises, you're tired, and you're hungry, and it's freezing cold, but you don't care because you're going to make it. You're going to make it to the top. You and your companion set out. You're both laughing, and you start to struggle. It's a steep cliff face. Now you're climbing with ropes, and you have to knock them in with a hammer, make sure they don't come out, and it's vertical, and you keep going. It takes you hours, and eventually you reach the top of this beautiful mountain, the highest mountain in the range, and you look around you at the incredible view. 360 vision. Can you see it? You feel the wind whip across your face, and you feel the snow underneath your feet. Isn't it amazing up there? And you look down and you realize you've conquered something massive, haven't you? That's right. Very good. And the wind whistles in your ears, and your nose is cold because it's so fast. You get your camera out and you take beautiful photos. That's right. And now, if you'd like to come back, that was a very, very brief demonstration of hypnosis. Hypnosis is creative storytelling with a few little technical pointers, technical structure. And I think the very first time that the very first book that I read that really inspired me about hypnosis was The Structure of Magic. Sorry, The Structure of Magic. The structure, yeah, it's called The Structure of Magic, or The Structure of Magic. Yeah, volume 1, The Structure of Magic. It's called that. And it blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. I've never read anything quite as powerful as that. I mean, that book would put you in a trance. If you followed what I've said, then you've had a mild hypnotic experience. If you know me personally, you've probably had quite a profound hypnotic experience, because I've gone into a trance, and whoever's watching, you know, if we've got that sort of relationship, has also experienced some form of hypnotic phenomenon. And yeah, it is storytelling. I mean, to break it down into oh, excuse me, to break it down into the technical side of it, I did a very, very, very quick induction. Just what you see, what you hear, what you feel, and then I just went into the story. But really, a story by itself can put someone in a trance. a story by itself is hypnotic. Um, and people will give their own meaning oh, to what you say to them. If I said experience to you, that very word has so many different meanings in so many different contexts. You'd have to specify what you meant by that word, because you know obviously there's a dictionary definition and all that jazz. But for a person, same with any other word. Energy, challenge, experience, amazement, happy, frustrated. Fair enough. They've all got roughly the same. If you say to a person, "Yeah, I've got an idea of what you're trying to express to me," but they might have a completely well, no, they do have a completely unique interpretation of it. So, and really, Adventures in Ambiguity is this particular video is all about exploring that very vague side of what we do, because the way we work is we'll have a very specific outcome or challenge. Usually we form an outcome, so we'll form a specific outcome to what the client wants, and then we'll do the work with them, which is could be hypnosis, could be NLP techniques, and then we'll do some future orientation at the end. I find it hard to look at the camera when I'm looking at me, and it's just but I've just got a Facebook message to put me off. Where was I? I forgot. I'm not very good at this live stuff. As I say, yeah. Sorry, the work. If I had more people, if I had anyone here, then it'd be easier to sort of bounce with it. But yeah. So that's we are working to a specific outcome, but within that, we have to facilitate. We have to be the catalyst for the client to make their own internal connections. That's the whole point of doing this. We're not changing them. We're not creating anything within them. They're doing it themselves. And that's the whole principle of hypnosis, is you allow the person to create what they need or organize what they need inside, because it's all you're influencing them to, in a good way, to do what's in their best interest. So yeah, I think we'll do another short hypnotic story. No, actually we'll do this. I told you a metaphorical story before. Now I'm just going to stick. I'm just going to stick. Well, for a linguist, I'm not very good at it. I'm going to stick to just dealing with what we call representational systems. I like looking at myself. It's just like, what? I'm going to stick to doing representational systems. So I get rid of those identifications. So what I'm going to do is we're going to run through another short hypnotic trance experience, whatever word you want, session, story, induction. That's the word I was looking for. And I'm just going to stick to talking about. I can't promise I'm going to do this because I'll get distracted and it's all out the window. Okay, I'm going to try and do visual, auditory, and what they call kinesthetic. So I'll talk about what you see, I'll talk about what you hear, and then I'll talk about what you feel or how you feel. And that is obviously physical stuff and emotional stuff too. And I might branch out into my personal favorite, which is auditory digital, which is sort of more about what you sense and how you process stuff. Okay. So we'll go for another one now. And then I'm having a lot of fun here. This is really weird because there's no one here. There's no one here. It's just me and I'm live and it's lovely. Okay. So maybe you can picture a scene where you're really happy. You feel really happy. And you're hearing the words of the people you love the most praising you. And you look in their eyes and they light up because they're so happy to see you, aren't they? And you hear the phone ringing. And you pick it up, and the voice on the other end of the phone is a friend you haven't seen in a very long time. And you're so happy to see them. Oh, feel them, hear them. You're holding the phone to your ear. You can feel the receiver in your hand. And as you do this, you look down and you see in your hand there's a bit of paper that says, I love you. And you think, where did this come from? And you feel a bit perplexed. And you're still talking on the phone. And you turn around and you hear someone else you love very much calling your name. And you tell them you're still on the phone. And while this is all happening, the strangest sense of the familiar is sinking in. Like you've been here before. And as this is all happening, a wonderful feeling could be rising from somewhere inside you. Doing this. And maybe in your mind, you can see a time in the past where you've been in a situation a little bit like this, a bit distracted, very happy, enjoying being around the people you love. And you can imagine now a time in the future where you could be around these people again, can't you? And seeing all this happen in your mind means you have a good imagination, which could be put to use for creating the music as a backdrop to your life. And imagine how that would feel, having that music playing in the back of your mind every day, subtly colouring your atmospheric presence on this planet. And as you consider this, you could pick up the phone in your mind and make a telephone call to yourself. And if you did that, what would the you say to the other you? You can consider this for a moment, because I'm considering it too. What would the me say to the other me? Do you pay yourself enough attention? Do you love yourself enough? I think you could love yourself. I think you do love yourself. I just think it's a case of you realizing that you love yourself. Sorry. I'm just having fun here. Now you see an example of VA, what they call VAK, visual auditory kinesthetic. It's a, it's another. It's very difficult to do it just here by myself. It's just like what? It's much better with the subject. I'm just like, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? I'm here by myself. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. But it's much easier with the subject. Much easier with the client. Sorry, not subject. But that's the ins and outs, and I'm bouncing you around, and I'm confusing you on purpose, and I'm doing all these things in the background. Um, but that's just completely, that's just me having fun. This is the first time I've done a live stream. So even I'm just like, what? And there's no script or fuck that stuff. That thing is that I'm just demonstrating the structure, the techniques behind how we're doing this. Using like one line metaphors. I don't remember even what I said. And then I'm using also, like the you calls the other you, what you're going to say. That's like internal messaging for your unconscious mind. Because then that opens up the possibility that you have a relationship with yourself. That's what I was getting at with that metaphor. I shouldn't really be telling you why I use the metaphor, but this isn't a client. I'm not treating you as a client that I'm hypnotizing for therapy. I'm just having some fun and explaining the concepts behind what we do. If I had a client, I'm not going to tell them why I'm using a particular metaphor or even what the metaphor means, because I'm encoding it within. I'm encoding the meaning within that metaphor, and they probably know that metaphor means. They'll probably consciously know what that metaphor means, but it's much better if it goes in at an unconscious level. And I've seen work done, very, very amazing work, by the guy who trained me in hypnosis, Michael Carroll, who's comes from the lineage of John Grinder, Milton Erickson, and all that. And when I've seen him work, he goes to such a level that there's like metaphor within a metaphor. There's levels to it, and even a lot of the people that in the class, they're like, why do you say that? He says, not telling you. Amazing, just amazing. So so that's a visual auditory kinesthetic. I did use a little bit of auditory digital, and the other things are hearing the words, hearing the sounds. What do you see? What do you feel? And anybody who's involved in NLP will know, obviously, there's VAK, and then there's auditory digital. For a long time, I thought I was mainly kinesthetic. I am. However, when you start to talk about processing stuff, the kinesthetic metaphors, what they call predicates, which is, I get your point, hold on. This is, I think this is very hard. I'm just like, what? Those are not alien to me, but auditory digital, which is all process stuff, that makes more sense. That touches me. So I've recently realised that and even when I'm writing stuff, because I do creative writing, as you can probably see, there's the other video with creative hypnosis there. Um, I'm just like, yeah, this is like, if I try and write in kinesthetic, it's all right. But when I start to just go into auditory digital, sorry, that's when, you know, I start to feel what I'm writing. So, and that's, if someone speaks to me in auditory digital, it's beautiful. Even kinesthetic's beautiful. But I, just to share a little bit about myself, I don't um, I don't see things. Very rarely do I visualize stuff. I don't really hear things. Inside my head is actually very, very black space. But I don't see things. And so, you can talk to me about feeling things or processing, sensing things. But to the other two don't really, I don't really resonate with them, which is probably part of the reason why when I'm using the VAK system, my brain's trying to tick over and trying to process stuff. Obviously, as I said, I'm doing this live on YouTube at the moment, so it's yeah, without anyone here, it's weird, really weird. But okay, I think I think we'll leave this here for now. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy it rather. Um, and yeah, we'll see you for the next one. Yeah, bye. Let's turn this off. Bye.